morning, guys. So it is show day, so I woke up around 6 and I went and got my second coat of tan, and I did all my makeup, which looks kind of silly up close, but it looks good from afar, which is what counts. And we are going to be heading out to the venue very soon, so we will see you on stage.
Second place, number 53, Becca Granciano.
That's it, Becca!
And in first place, your winner of Figure Medium Tall, sponsored by Ottawa Classic, number 61, Arlene Knowles.
Welcome back, guys. We are on episode 19 of the Prepisode series, and this is the last and final episode. We're going to be talking about my prep, so comparing the first prep to my second prep in terms of strategy, approaches, results, the whole shebang. As you saw, I did get second place, and I'm so incredibly happy. I was on stage when we were doing our placing, and I personally thought that I had gotten 4th or 5th place. And so they called 5th, and it wasn't me. I was like, okay. They called 4th, and it wasn't me. And by this point, I really started doubting myself, and I did not think I placed at all. And I was very disappointed, and I was very upset. And they called 3rd, and they called 2nd. And when they called 2nd, they called my number. You can't really tell in the footage, but it took me a second to realize that's me. That's my number. And I was so happy. I actually had to hold back tears a little bit, I think. So I ended up with 2nd place, which is just surreal, and I'm so happy. So I did qualify for provincials, which are in August, but instead of going this August, I'm going to be taking my off season so I can improve, put on some size, and I'll be going next competition season. So that was show day. Such a good experience. Anyways, guys, I wrote it all down so I remember kind of what I'm trying to compare here, but we're just going to go through and talk about kind of what I did in my first prep compared to what I did in my second prep. For my first prep, my show was in July of 2016. I did a 12-week prep, and I did it completely on my own. I did not have a training coach or a nutrition coach. In this prep, for June 2017, I took 18 weeks, so it was a full 6 weeks longer. And I did not use a training coach, I did my own programming, but I did use a nutrition coach. So I used Avatar Nutrition because I am a recent grad, I'm broke, and can't afford a full-on coach. So Avatar Nutrition is an online service. It's like an automated macro coach. And it was created by Lane Norton. And it's $10 a month, and it's fantastic. I loved it. And I'm still actually going to be using it for my reverse diet and off season, so I would recommend that for sure. In my first prep, The training approach I took was also a little bit different. So I had my bodybuilding split, and I was only doing one rest day a week, and I fell into that idea of higher reps and lighter weights. Versus this time, I was still doing a bodybuilding split, but I was taking 2 rest days per week, and I was using multiple rep ranges and still training heavy. And I think that was one of the biggest, one of the things that made the biggest difference is I maintained so much more of my muscle mass this time. Now for cardio, in my first prep, I only did steady state cardio, and right from the beginning, I was doing 5 days a week, 30 minutes each session. Now, yes, I lost weight with that, but I feel like I also lost a lot of my muscle mass, and I didn't need to be doing that much cardio at the beginning. Now, my second prep, I was doing a mix of HIIT and steady state, and I only increased cardio when it was necessary. So I started off with 1 HIIT session and 1 steady state, and then as the weeks progressed, if I needed more, I added in. And by the very end, I was at 2 HIIT sessions and 3 steady state sessions. And they only got longer in time when I needed them to. So I was a lot smarter with my cardio this time around. Now nutrition. This is the biggest difference between my first and second prep. So in my first prep, I followed the idea of clean eating. So 6 days a week, I would eat clean foods. Anyways, I was eating 6 days a week, I was eating clean foods, and then I would have a cheat day. And instead of having a planned cheat day or a strategic cheat day, I literally just had the whole day where I could eat whatever I want in whatever portions I want. And if you know anything about caloric balances, that just doesn't work. The cheat day that's unlimited, you allow yourself to basically undo a lot of the work you've already done throughout the week, so you're making it way harder on yourself. And with the clean eating, what I was doing is on Sundays, I would meal prep the entire week. So regardless of what I was feeling like I wanted to eat, I had these set meals. And for me, I think that caused a lot of binging. I cheated on my diet a lot in my first prep. I didn't follow my macros as strictly as I should have and needed to. And I felt deprived, and it just wasn't working out for me. Now, some people, when they have a meal plan, they're able to stick to it 100% and it's fine. I couldn't, and it wasn't working for me, but I thought that was the way you had to do it. So I tried to do it that way. In terms of my actual calorie numbers, when I started my prep, so 12 weeks out, I was eating 2,000 calories, and by the end, I was eating 1,300. So what I did is every week I actually dropped my calories regardless of what my weight was doing or my body fat percentage was doing, and I dropped it pretty drastically. So I dropped calories when I didn't need to, and that made the binging worse, and none of it was strategic when I look back on it. I mean, I was just following blindly what, a lot of those like bodybuilding myths or misinformations tell you to do. Those things that everyone does, but it's not really scientific. So it was really a bro prep in terms of nutrition. But this prep was so different in terms of nutrition. So the biggest difference was I switched from a clean eating diet to if it fits your macros. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, if it fits your macros does not mean that you just eat junk food all day long, which I know sometimes Instagram makes it seem that way. You're still eating micronutrient-dense foods most of the time, but then it has that flexibility where you can fit in some of the more fun foods without sabotaging your diet. So I switched to IFYM. I did not have any cheat days because if I was really craving something, I could fit it into my macros the next day. So I didn't feel a need that I had to have a cheat day. So that helped a lot. And one of the other differences too, and this is just with if it fits your macros, I wasn't eating the same thing every day, and I didn't do meal preps. The only time I meal prepped was when I had a really busy day and would be out of the house. Other than that, I cooked as I went along. That way I could eat what I was craving at the time. The other thing with nutrition this prep is in my off season, I upped my calories like nobody's business, and I made sure my metabolism was in a really good place. when I was maintaining before prep, I was eating 3,000 calories a day. And when I started prep, I started at 2,700 calories. So that's already 700 calories above where I had been my first prep. By the last week, so by peak week, I was eating 1,600. So again, it was higher than last prep, even though I was leaner. Now with Avatar, because they were doing my macros, the changes in my macros were done with taking into consideration like my weight, my body fat percentage, all of that stuff. So the changes were not drastic. They were very subtle. I actually had 2 weeks where my calories and macros were increased because I had lost too much weight. So overall, the nutrition portion of this prep was so much easier to comply with, and it was so much more successful. So much more successful. The next thing that I want to compare is my peak weeks. Yeah, these had big differences too. So my first peak week, I kind of fell into that bro trap where you should do all these drastic things and all these outdated things. So I had drastic changes. I did a water manipulation. So I basically dehydrated myself, which if you know anything about physiology, that's not going to do you any good. I mean, you need water in the muscles or else you're going to just look absolutely flat. If you are not consuming water, you're going to be holding more water. So yeah, I know better now. So on top of water manipulation, I also added a lot more cardio because I wasn't lean enough as I should have been. And so I was trying to give myself like a last-ditch effort to try and lose extra weight, which in the last week is not going to help. If you're not stage ready, you're not stage ready. A week isn't going to change that. So I added more cardio. And with my carb loading or my carb pump up, again, there was no strategy behind it. There was no method to my madness. And I kind of took that as an excuse to just cheat on my diet. So I started like 3 days out from my show, I think maybe 2 days. 2 or 3 days out, and I was just eating like donuts and Timbits and like just shit that I didn't need. And honestly, it was stupid, and it did not benefit me in any way. Now, compared to this last prep I did, it was so different. So I had hardly any changes happen in my peak week. I added in a little extra water, so I added about 1 liter a day. And the only day that I reduced my water intake was the actual day of the show, so I wasn't constantly peeing. But I still had about, so I was drinking 8 liters of water a day up to show day, and then show day, from the time I woke up to the time I went on stage for finals, I think I had about 2 liters. I reduced my cardio, so up until Wednesday, my cardio was normal. Wednesday, it was brought down to 35 minutes. Thursday, it was brought down to 20 minutes. And then Friday was nothing. So my cardio was reduced. And then for my carb pump up, it was actually strategic. There was a method behind it. There was reason. So number one, my food sources. I didn't cheat at all. I didn't just make my pump up an excuse to go eat shit. I kept my carb sources the same as what I've been eating, because if I've been eating like a donut in 18 weeks, I don't want to go and eat that and then realize my body can't digest it properly and be bloated and feel gross. So all I did was increase my oats, my sweet potatoes, like all the carb sources I had already been eating, and I just increased them back up to my maintenance carb levels. And that worked so much better. And I did it on the Thursday only, and then Friday went back down. So if I did happen to go a little bit overboard, I had that buffer day to bring it back down. Now I didn't end up going overboard, and I ended up having to pump up again Friday night. But hey, that's an easy fix. And last but not least, guys, let's talk about the results of my prep. So in my first prep, I went on stage at 139 pounds. And I'm actually not sure what my body fat percentage was. If I had to guess, I would say it was probably around 22%, but again, that's just a guess. Now, I was in a class of 8 girls, and I placed 7th. So almost dead last. And I deserved that placing. Yeah. Whereas this prep, a little bit different. So I went on stage at 133 pounds, so I was 6 pounds lighter. I had more muscle mass and much less fat, so 6 pounds doesn't sound like a big difference, but it can make a world of difference in your physique, especially when you're a pretty small person. That can make a lot of changes up here. So I was 6 pounds lighter, and I was sitting at nearly 18% body fat, and I got second place out of 7 women. So I did a lot better, and my overall shape and silhouette and definition was so much better. Now obviously going forward I want to have more muscle mass and be leaner and make all these improvements, but for a second show I feel very, very happy with what I was able to achieve. So that was Prep 1 versus Prep 2. If you guys have any questions or you want me to go into any more details about any of the aspects of prep I talked about, or even want to share your own experiences of what you've learned in terms of successful and unsuccessful prep strategies, comment below, and we will see you guys later on. As I said, guys, this is the last Prepisode, so for the next little while I'm still going to be uploading vlogs and videos. I just won't be on a regular weekly upload schedule until I start my next series. And on that note, if you guys have any ideas of what you'd like to see in a series, whether it be more of a vlog style or educational style or whatever the case might be, let us know and we'll be sure to take that into consideration. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed Prepisodes, and we will see you on my next vlog. Bye, guys.